All right, we're going to call the meeting of the Finance Committee to order on October 5th, 2022. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Alderman Alex Camo. Not here. Alderman Tyler GOV.
Here.
Alderman at-large Ben Clemens. Alderwoman at-large Gloria Timmons.
Here.
Alderman at-large Melbourne Moran Jr. Alderman Patricia Klee, here. And Mayor Jim Donches.
Here. All right,
We have 4 in here.
and now we have 5. Alderman Clemens just arrived.
Good.
And it's still 7 o'clock, so very good.
I try.
All right, the first thing on the agenda is public comment. Any member of the public wish to address the committee?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I also want to put others that are in attendance for
Okay.
the record. Okay. We have Cheryl Linder, Director Tim Cummings, Amy Gerard, Nick Meiservich, William Mansfield, Chief Steve Buxton, and David Boucher is online, as well as Jeff LaFleur and Mark Saunders. Thank you.
All right, the first communication is from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Klee.
From Amy Gerard Purchasing Agency, in regards to T1 service migration in the amount of $22,768.20 plus taxes and fees funded from 55109 telecommunications telephone voice/general fund. Mr. Mayor, I motion to place on file and award a contract with Comcast Business to migrate its telephone T1 lines to a fiber optic service in the amount of $22,768.20 plus taxes and fees. Funding will be through Department 122 Information Technology Fund 55109 Telecommunications Telephone Voice General Fund.
Is this Mr. Mansfield or Mr. Meiservich?
Meiservich, I think.
Okay, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nick Meiservich, Chief Information Officer for the City of Nashua. This item is to actually do what we attempted to do a year ago with the same project, but the vendor that we went with a year ago was not able to get the circuit done in time, which is not a total loss for the city because it kept our rates locked in and didn't allow the rates to increase. So here we are, a year later, trying to do the same thing, going through a different vendor who gave us much better pricing, and this is a 3-year option instead of a 1-year option. And this will allow us to switch over to our phone lines to the DR site once that is up and running as well with this new technology.
All right, questions, comments? Alderman Gouveia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Question through you. So you said we've tried this once before and it didn't go through as proper, or as it should have. Do we feel confident this time it will be done correctly? And
Yes, because Comcast already has run the fiber line for this service.
perfect.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Klee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, in regards to Edgewood Cemetery data line upgrade in the amount of $4,644 plus taxes and fees from 55109 telecommunications telephone voice/general fund. Mr. Mayor, I motion to place on file, approve, and award an increase in bandwidth for internet services at Edgewood Cemetery to consolidate communications in the amount of $4,644. That's a $129 per month plus taxes and fees. Funding will be through Department 122 Information Technology Fund 55109 Telecommunications Telephone Voice General Fund.
Mr. Meiservich?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is to increase the bandwidth for the Edgewood Cemetery. They are one of the few locations in the city that does not have fiber optics tied back to the city's network. And this is the most cost-effective option at this time. The bandwidth is in the order of 15 megs, which is very low. It's an old DSL line, old technology. We will be increasing it to a 250 meg line, which is, order of magnitude of 10. So it'll definitely be seen. It'll allow those city employees to do their electronic work more efficiently.
Okay. Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, in regards to Motorola service and system upgrade in the amount of $260,607.44, funded from 54435 Communications Equipment Maintenance General Fund. Mr. Mayor, I motion to place on file and approve the purchase maintenance services along with the system upgrade agreement, SUA 2, with Motorola Solutions Incorporated, in the amount of $260,606.44. Funding will be through Department 157 Citywide Communications, Fund 54435 Communications Equipment Maintenance General Fund.
Mr. Mansfield?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bill Mansfield, City Radio Systems Manager for the city. Basically, I'm responsible for all the radio communications within the city and the equipment that is utilized by all public safety as well as non-public safety here in the city. This evening, I'm before you to ask for your approval of system upgrade agreement. These agreements come up every year. The system upgrade agreement is to allow that our radio system be updated every 2 years and brought up to the current standards of today. When they do this type of update or upgrade, they replace all the hardware and software necessary to ensure that the system does run smoothly, and it has been for quite some time. The next date of an upgrade is scheduled for April of 2023, so it's just around the corner. With the approval of this will just follow through like we do every year, and continue with the upgrades on the radio system so that nothing is falling behind with technology. That's the main one, which is $219,000. Also along with that, there's a second contract in this package, which is for security upgrade services on a bi-weekly basis. We receive software upgrades for all of the Windows products that we have in the radio system, not only in the infrastructure, but also police and fire dispatch consoles as well. So every 2 weeks, those are upgraded by Motorola remotely. We then go in and ensure that the upgrade goes through properly and by rebooting the equipment to make sure there's no failures, and then we move on from there. So that is done remotely. The other one is a preventive maintenance contract that is in here. That is for $8,900 and some change. Preventive maintenance contract is for system technologists from Motorola to come in and doing a survey and analysis on all of our equipment to ensure that it's functioning the way that it should be, especially at our radio sites. They test all the antennas, all the lines, and ensure that the base stations are working properly. We don't have the equipment for that, to do that. It would be too costly for the city to purchase that equipment. So that's why we have that in there, so they come in here once a year and do that maintenance. The next one down is the Astro technical support. So basically, it allows myself and my partner, Mr. Peter Sinfo, to call Motorola to assist us in troubleshooting any issues that we have with the radio system. It just basically, it's an on-call, we dial in, talk to them, we tell them what the issue is, and then they talk us through to help us to troubleshoot and find out what the problem is. And I think that is the last one on there, so.
And the radios we're talking about are police, fire, public works.
Any of the 12 to 1,500 radios that we have within the city, yes.
All right, any questions or comments? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Mr. Mansfield. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Amy Gerard, Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, in regards to fire apparatus replacement in the amount of $867,367, funded from 81500 Vehicles Bond pending approval. A motion by, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to motion to place on file and approve the replacement of a Pierce Arrow XT pumper designated engine 2 and housed at the Lake Street Fire Station with Allegiance Fire and Rescue of Walpole, Massachusetts, in the amount of $867,367, contingent upon Board of Aldermen approval. Funding will be through Department 152 Fire Rescue Fund 81500 Vehicles Bond, again pending approval.
All right, and I think we've got Chief Buxton, Deputy Barrows here.
Good evening, Steve Buxton, Nashua Fire. So she just read through the entire packet we have in front of you. So you have most of the details on the purchase. This is in line with the SURF program that our Board of Fire Commission supports. This is a regular purchase for our apparatus replacement program. The resolution R22064 is the funding mechanism for this. That was heard first reading at the Board of Aldermen the other night. Public hearing on that will be next Thursday, I believe. We're under a little bit of a time constraint with this. That's why we're trying to move the contract forward at the same time. Fire apparatus market right now is very volatile. Normally they have a single price increase in a year. To this point in time throughout the year, they've had 3 price increases, and they're expecting another one November 1st. So we're trying to get this deal in place before that next price increase.
Questions, comments? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From Amy Gerard, Purchasing Agent, in regards to FY23 casting purchase in the amount of $316,125, funded from 81700 Sewer Infrastructure Improvements Wastewater. Mr. Mayor, I motion to place on file and approve the purchase of manhole and catch basin frames and grates from Concord Windwater Company of Concord, New Hampshire, in the amount of $316,125. Funding will be through Department 164 Wastewater Fund, Wastewater Activity, Sewer Structures.
All right, we have Mr. Saunders from the engineer on the Zoom.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mark Saunders, DPW engineer and senior staff engineer. I'm here to speak to the FY23 casting purchase. This casting purchase will be in support of the paving program. The paving program replaces all broken and non-standard manholes and catch basin castings that it encounters. This purchase is for 300 catch basin frame and grates and 650 manhole frame and grates. The purchase was advertised for bids on August 3rd, and 2 vendors submitted bids, with Concord Windwater of Concord, New Hampshire being the qualified low bidder with a bid of $316,125. Concord Wind Water has supplied the city with castings for the past several years. I'm happy to take any questions.
Anybody have questions or comments? All right, thank you. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, in regards to change order number 1 in the amount of $33,871 funded from 54210 Construction Services Bond. A motion to place on file and approve change order number 1 to the contract with Clearspan Fabric Structures of Glastonbury, Connecticut, in the amount of $33,871. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Bond Activity, SW Equipment Covered Storage, yeah.
All right, and we have Jeff LaFleur from the landfill. Mr. LaFleur.
Yes, sir. Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. I came to you guys some months ago for an approval for our equipment at the landfill to keep it out of the weather. When going through the building a permit process, I ended up finding out that anything over 5,000 square feet would need a sprinkler system. Well, in the area that we plan on putting this, sprinkler system wouldn't work. It would freeze in the middle of the winter. So we took it upon ourselves to cost out to have 3 separate buildings that would equal up to the same amount of square footage, just under the 5,000 square foot threshold for a sprinkler system. This change order would be to add a single truss to each one of those buildings and the installation.
All right. Questions? All those in favor of the motion?
Excuse me.
Whoop.
Alderman.
I just want to thank you on your creativity there for getting around the requirement for the sprinkler system. It's a little outrageous to me that we would care. I mean, in that particular situation, but thank you.
Thank you so much.
All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, regards to rental of grinder in the amount of $40,500 funded from 55699 Other Contracted Services General Fund. I motion to place on file and approve a contract with Simplicity Equipment and Services of Westfield, Mass. In the amount of $40,500. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund, Solid Waste Account Classification 5569, Other Contracted Services and General Fund.
Mr. LaFleur?
Thanks again, Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent of Solid Waste. This is a rental agreement for a grinder, as it states. We're going to try to grind up all of our construction and demolition material up at the landfill. Studies show that construction and demolition in the landfill takes up 20% more airspace in the landfill. By grinding it up, we'll be able to compact it a lot tighter and save a lot more airspace for the landfill.
Alderman Gouveia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Question through you to Director LaFleur. Just a quick question that I came up with while looking at this is, so it's $40,500 for a month of a rental. How much is the piece of equipment if you were just to outright buy it? And then on top of that, how often is this done? How often are we renting this equipment for a month? Is this something that happens multiple times a year, or is this just kind of a one-time thing?
Great questions. The first answer for the machine itself is around $1 million, which would not be feasible right now. This is the first time I've ever tried grinding up the construction and demolition. I had them come out and do a demo. I liked the process. I liked the way it did it. My plan is to do it 2 or 3 times a year, depending on the amount of volume that comes in, providing we like the machine and like the way it works. I would rather rent it and have the maintenance on the company instead of trying to purchase one right now, especially where there's a lot of unknowns.
Of course.
Alderwoman Timmons.
Well, thank Thank you, Alderman Goldman. You took my question. I was going to ask him that same question. Would it have been cheaper to rent, to buy versus renting? And you answered that question. And you also answered the fact that you do it just 2 or 3 times a year. And but is that 2 or 3 times every year for how long have you been doing this? Because that do add up, even if it's 2 or 3 times a year.
As I stated, this is the first time we're actually going to grind up the demo. We used to have companies that would take it for a charge. I went out to bid in January this year for companies that would take our C&D and try to recycle some of it and use some of it, and I got 0 bids back. So now I'm just trying to provide or save as much airspace for the city of Nashua as possible by grinding this up and using it in our landfill.
Can I have a follow-up question?
Yes.
Would it be possible to think about buying it in the future? If this is going to be an ongoing event, would it be cheaper for us overall to just go ahead and purchase it?
Absolutely, we could look into purchasing it. I'm looking at other options of other materials that we could grind up landfill, like furniture and brush and stuff like that. It's just, I want to make sure that this is the right piece of equipment to do everything that the city needs. And I need a good idea of how much fuel it uses and what kind of maintenance there is, because the teeth on the machine will need to be hard-faced, and I'm just not sure of the process of it and how much it would cost the city right now.
All right, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. LaFleur. I have a couple questions here. One is, first off, let me thank you for thinking about doing this to try to create as much there. Landfill space is becoming quite controversial these days as it's spreading out more and more, especially in New Hampshire with a lot of the different things happening up north. But as far as like construction, demolition, we don't allow just those that are doing construction to just dump in our dump here. This is for residential, correct? Here in Nashua, our landfill?
Yes, there are commercial contractors that do come in. Everyone pays the same amount, $300 a ton. But it has to be from Nashua, so it's residents in this, the city of Nashua. If I see big loads coming in, like tractor trailer loads of demo, I turn them away as soon as possible. Or any big projects, like we've stopped taking in any hotels that do renovations, or any, if there's any buildings that are being torn down, we don't take that material here at the landfill. We just can't service it. It would just eat up too much airspace for us.
And I truly appreciate that. Thank you very much for that type of thing. And yes, I would be interested in future as to whether or not we could use something like this to create smaller piles of our landfill, as we do know eventually we are going to run out of space. So the more that we can do, the better off we are. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alderman Clemmons.
You can tell me if I'm off topic here, but I was curious to see, I know that we raised the rates for demo. Have you seen less people coming in to the landfill? How has that worked well?
Absolutely, great question. Yes, the amount of materials that we've taken in this year are about a third or half of what's been brought in future years. We've been doing a year-over-year, analysis, and that's what we're showing. We're well below half of what's been usually coming in.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Next communication from Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager. Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. From Amy Gerard, Purchasing Manager, in regards to Amendment 2 to dry well valve and pipe replacement in the amount of $448,500, funded from SFR Loan Wastewater Fund. Bless you. I motion to place on file and approve Amendment 2 to the contract with Wright Pierce for the final design plans and specifications for the dry well valve and pipe replacement project in an amount not to exceed $448,500. Funding will be through Department 169 Wastewater Fund, SRF Loan Activity, WW Plant Dry Well Valve Replacement.
All right, Mr. Boucher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dave Boucher, wastewater superintendent. So this consists of replacing 3 stories of 36-inch pipe that has seen some wear and tear over its many years in service, over 60 years in service. These are the main pipes that carry all the wastewater that comes in from the city, from the lowest point in the city to ground level for further treatment. Wright Pierce is the engineering firm that did the preliminary work on this project, which involves replacing the pipe, also bypassing the wastewater facility, the main part of the facility, so this job can be done. We'd like to use them to do the final design on this project and also oversee the bidding construction project. You have any answer any questions?
Anybody? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
Boucher. Unfinished business, we have none. Table and committee, there's nothing. New business resolutions, new business ordinances, we have none. Record of expenditures, Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I motion that the Finance Committee has complied with the city charter and ordinance pertaining to the record of expenditures for the period from September 16th, 2022 to September 29th, 2022.
Anyone? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. General discussion. Any items of general discussion? Public comment. Does any member of the public wish to address the committee? There's no one here. Remarks by Alderman. Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make an announcement. Next week for Ward 3 is going to be quite a busy week. They're going to start the French Hill Crime Watch again, and that will be on October 12th. And they are calling it the French Hill Crime Watch. I'm asking people to come regardless. It will be held at the Hunt Building at 7 p.m. I think it's a good time for the neighbors within that area, whether they're at Franklin or in French Hill, to speak to the police that will be there and bring up the issues that they're finding in their neighborhood. Also on October 13th, I'm holding a Ward 3 meeting. It's going to be jam-packed with fun. We're going to have our grant writer there. We're going to have the energy manager there. Director Cummings will be there. Director Sullivan will be there. And the Mike Reinke from the National Soup Kitchen will be there to talk about different things like that. I am promising to keep people in line, and it will not go 2 hours like the last one did. I'm hoping to keep it under 90 minutes. I think it will go over 60. That's my real goal, but I hope to do that. And on October 15th, there are 2 really exciting things happening. The Rotary Club is having their duck derby, and that will be at Renaissance Park. And myself and Alderman Lopez will be holding the first ever Ward 3 Riverfest, and that will be on the opposite side. It'll be held in the Greeley House parking lot. Loft 34 has been kind enough to allow us to use that. We're not going to be providing parking for anybody that comes. You'll have to kind of find parking on your own, and there'll be plenty of parking in the High Street parking garage and various other places. So you can come and enjoy both of them. We're going to have a marshmallow stuffing contest. So how many marshmallows can you get in your mouth? We'll have a hots contest. And we will be talking about what made Nashville, Nashville. And Tom and I he's taking the side of the South, and I'm taking the side of the North. So we'll see how that goes. I hope that people will join us. Thank you.
All right, any other aldermanic comments by Alderman? Remarks by Alderman? Alderwoman Clee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'd like to motion for an adjournment.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes, and the meeting of the Finance Committee is adjourned at 7:29 p.m.